What is going on, everybody? It's the Frost, and we're here for a Monday Night Raw review for April the 19th, 2021. This was the week after WrestleMania's, the night after WrestleMania show. What is the follow-up to Charlotte screwing over Asuka in a rematch for the Women's Championship? Will Drew McIntyre get his answers from Montel Montavious Porter on what happened with Mason T-Bar last week? And who will come out on top at the end of the night between Charlotte Flair and Asuka when they go one-on-one in a match that we've seen time and time again? But honestly, I didn't expect to see what we'd see at the end of the show. Plus, it was advertised earlier today or yesterday that we were going to get for the first time ever Randy Orton versus Braun Strowman, which honestly, in my opinion, doesn't even sound like a good fucking match. But somebody backstage must have told Vince, this match is terrible. Let's do something. Or maybe it was Randy Orton, because we had Randy Orton versus Matt Riddle on tonight. And it was by far the best match we've had on Raw in what seems like weeks. I can't remember the last time we had a good match on Monday Night Raw. But this was definitely one of, if not the best matches on Raw in the month of April. And probably back all the way at March. So we start the show with Drew McIntyre coming out. He wants to know why did he get attacked by Nace and T-Bar last week. What does MVP have to do with this? He talks about opportunities and how Strowman and Randy Orton won WWE title shots last week, which led Adam Pearce to making the triple threat. Drew says he earned his next title shot by beating two of the top superstars on Raw. Whoa. Randy Orton might be a top superstar, but Braun Strowman, I wouldn't say top. I'd say middle of the pack. He stands here number one contender. He wants to talk about Mason T-Bar now. They decided to make their names on Drew McIntyre last week. He knows MVP has to be the mastermind behind this. He taunts them and jokes out he'll get a little retribution when he gets his hands on them. Drew says he feels like a fight. He wants a fight. Out comes MVP and he says that's just the man he wanted to see. MVP comes out to address these ridiculous allegations. He mentions how Lashley put him on to sleep at WrestleMania when he wasn't expecting it. Then he wasn't expecting T-Bar and Mace last week. MVP says Drew should start expecting the unexpected. Congratulates him on his win last week because Lashley believes he will be a worthy adversary when he beats him at Backlash again and puts him to sleep with the Hurt Lock. Drew asks MVP if he's really going to stand there and act like he had nothing to do with what happened last week. MVP goes on about how he works for Lashley and how Lashley is the chief Hurt officer and I'm just his his second in command. And Lashley made the decision to downsize the Hurt business. Well, on TV, we know that's what the story they're going with, but we know it was all Vince McMahon who decided we want the Hurt business to be a two-man act. Which was definitely the wrong way to go with it, but hey, whatever. Why would they hire T-Bar and Mace to attack Drew when Lashley already proved he can beat Drew McIntyre all by himself? Well, I mean, you did have a part in that, making Drew McIntyre look like the biggest fucking idiot at WrestleMania when he went for the Claymore. And MVP didn't even yell Drew's name. He yelled Lashley or, hey, Bobby. And that distracted Drew McIntyre. Like, seriously, why in the hell did that distract him? I seriously want to know what the hell that was all about. Anyway. MVP wonders if Drew has made some enemies with his recent locker room speech. Drew slowly exits the ring and wonders about the coincidence. He approaches MVP, but Bass and T-Bar out of nowhere attack him, put him back in the ring, hit the chokeslam powerbomb, the double chokeslam finisher, and they walk right past MVP, not saying anything. MVP just smirks and watches as Drew tries to recover. So, yeah. Then we go backstage, and Kevin Patrick is with T-Bar and Mace. They are confident about finishing off Drew McIntyre. They say a bunch of random words like things that are extinct. And then they say, that's what happens. We're going to make sure that's what happens to Drew McIntyre when we get our hands on him. And they walk off. I have no idea what the fuck they were saying before. Someone, I think Mace said Sabretooth Tiger. And Mace and T-Bar was like, those are extinct, right? Well, that's what we're going to make Drew McIntyre when we get our hands on him. Back from break, we see what happened with Drew. He stomps Adam Pearce and he tells him to make a match between him and T-Bar and Mace. Pearce says, you need a tag team partner. Drew says he insists he'll be fine on his own and he storms off, which, with what happens in that match and how things go, which we'll talk about here when we get there, you could have just made it a tag team match with who comes out to help Drew McIntyre. Which, remember that? Because we'll talk about it here in a second. Well, remember how I just said that Lashley was the one to downsize on TV? Vince McMahon was the one who actually downsized the Hurt Business. Well, Cedric and Shelton Benjamin are teaming together still, and as we know last week, the Viking Raiders made their return. Good. The tag team division really did need the guys like the Viking Raiders. If Mace and T-Bar, after what happens in their match, continue to team together and still want to be a tag team, I'm fine with that because the tag team division needs more than just the Viking Raiders, the New Day, almost an AJ Styles, I guess, but they haven't been seen on TV since WrestleMania, so who knows what the fuck's actually going on there. But, yeah. So, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin went from backing up Bobby Lashley, being the Raw Tag Team Champions, to not being in WrestleMania, losing to the Viking Raiders, not once, but twice. Which, let's see, if you look at it now, if Mason and T-Bar stay together, you have the Viking Raiders. If Shelton and Cedric stay together, that's Shelton and Cedric. You have the New Day, and you have the Viking Raiders, Mason T-Bar, Shelton and Cedric, the New Day, and I guess AJ's and Omos. That's a 5-man tag team division. That's pretty. It's lackluster still. We need like 1 or 2 more teams to make it a pretty good division. But if you keep the guys together and you actually continue to use them, you got yourself one hell of a tag team division on Monday Night Raw. They just got to stop doing rematch after rematch after rematch after rematch. So we have this match here. Of course, who do you think was going to win this match? Well, I tell you one thing. I've been watching a lot of AEW lately. Dark Elevation. When a team or person gets a jobber entrance, you know who's winning. It's clearly not going to be the one who actually. It's not going to be the man or woman or the team that gets the jobber entrance. So you knew immediately when we came back from break and Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin were in the ring already that, yep, we know how this is going to go. So again, they have this match. Cedric and Shelton do get a good bit of time in on the Viking Raiders, but, Thor's hammer. Which, by the way, Adnan Virk, this is his second week. He's a failure. Adnan Virk, like when we started Monday Night Raw, you have that, welcome to Monday Night Raw, live from the Thunderdome. Tom Phillips did it well. Michael Cole does it well on SmackDown, even though I don't like Michael Cole as commentator, but he does it well enough to actually be passable. And then Virk says, welcome to Monday Night Raw tonight, right from the Thunderdome. And I'm like, what? Huh? Oh, Raw started? Dude is if it wasn't for Corey Graves and Byron Saxton being on the commentary team, I guarantee you, majority of the people who are watching Monday Night Raw would be sleeping. Because this guy is the cure for insomnia. He has no passion, no fire in his voice when he's like welcoming us to Monday Night Raw. Anything he says anything he says on commentary just lacks the emotion, the passion of wanting to be there. I mean, I wouldn't blame you because it is WWE, but holy shit. You dropped Samoa Joe and you fired him last week. And you brought this guy in. And you put Tom Phillips. I believe Tom Phillips is on 205 Live now, hosting it. I'm like, talk about a major downgrade for Monday Night Raw. You went from 2 weeks ago, Samoa Joe, Tom Phillips, and Byron Saxton, to Corey Graves, Byron Saxton, and Adnan Virk. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of Byron Saxton, but when Byron Saxton and Corey Graves are the ones on commentary doing the commentating, and Adnan Virk is keeping his mouth shut, it's actually not a bad duo. I can stomach Byron Saxton and Corey Graves. They feed off each other really fucking well. But when Adnan Virk even opens his fucking mouth, it just kills the whole vibe of the show. You had Matt Riddle and Randy Orton, which we'll talk about here in a second, And when it's Corey Graves and Byron Saxton commentating on the match, you really get into the match because these guys have the voice, have the ability to get you to want to actually like get into the match. Then Adnan talks and you're like, ugh. I literally can just feel my energy, my daily energy just being sucked away with this motherfucker on commentary. Like I said, I can give it a month before Vince McMahon goes, well, this wasn't a good idea. I'm sorry, Adnan, gotta go. I know that's not gonna happen, but it's like just holy fuck. Who? Like, I honestly want to know why Vince McMahon hired Adnan Virk. Hell, Kevin Patrick, the Irish guy backstage commentator. I would rather have him on commentary. He actually feels like he would be a good commentator for Monday Night Raw. I could be totally wrong, but again, Adnan Virk needs to be gone. He's not. This is not for him. Like I said, I've heard Adnan Virk on baseball when I was at my grandfather's house and he was watching some baseball games. I've heard Adnan Virk commentate on baseball games. The guy sounds more energetic on there than he does here. I just don't fucking get it. Why is this guy here when he's no fucking good? I just don't get it. So the Viking Raiders won with Thor's hammer. Nothing else I can say there. Patrick is backstage with Randy Orton. He asks if the Fiend Bray Wyatt is no more after last week. Orton says, mark my words, the Fiend will never be seen or heard from again as long as Orton is around. And I'm thinking, no, please don't tell me that not this week, which it didn't happen, thankfully. Not this week, but don't tell me somewhere down the line we're going to get Randy Orton versus the Fiend again, probably going into SummerSlam. Please. You could have just said, well, mark my words, my time. Like, he could have just said something like, I'm done with the Fiend. The Fiend's behind me. Not that he's never going to be seen again, because obviously the Fiend should have another target that he should be going after since his feud with Randy Orton is done. Let's see here. Orton goes on about Drew McIntyre getting lucky last week at his expense to become the new number one contender and says the WWE Championship after Backlash will be the winner. He's going to sit there at Backlash, watch, and see who comes out the victor because they will have a target on their back, and I'm going to be the one shooting for him. All of a sudden, Riddle comes through, riding on his scooter, congratulating Orton on his WrestleMania win and doing his usual high ranting. Riddle suggests they form a tag team called RK Bro with matching scooters and everything. And Orton just walks off very, just annoyed. Riddle shrugs at Patrick as we go to commercial break. Yeah, no thank you, I do not want that. Bathroom break, and Randy Orton's in Adam Pearce's office. He says he doesn't even know the guy's name. So, yeah, that's kind of a stab to Matt Riddle. If, one of the bigger names in WWE can't even remember your name. That can't be good, can it? Anyway, he wants a match with Riddle tonight. And Pierce says he'll see what he can do, even though we've known that he's sat there before and someone's asked for a match and he just goes, sure, I'll give it to you. So why not just give it to him? We go back to see what happened with Charlotte's attack on Asuka and Women's Champion Rhea Ripley last week. It's still weird to say Raw Women's Champion Rhea Ripley. It's great, though, but it's still weird. Gotta get that out of there. Back from break, and here comes Miss Charlotte to bitch and complain just like she did last week. And hopefully, after what happened tonight, this week will be the last time we see Charlotte Flair for a while. Back from break, and Flair's on the mic in the middle of the ring as the fake fans boo in the arena. Flair says she came back to Raw last week, slamming demanding respect for the women's locker room in the WWE Universe. She didn't mean to hurt anyone's feelings. She's just expressing how she's felt. Goes on about WrestleMania 37, how the women in the back are so lame and fake to each other. She doesn't even know why they're mad at her. They don't have a match taken from them like Flair did. She says they work all year for a WrestleMania match, and hers was taken from her. Big deal. Raw Women's Champion Rhea Ripley beat Asuka, but Flair can beat them both at the same night. That's why they call her the Opportunity. And I'm thinking to myself, no, you called yourself that last week. Nobody. This woman actually had the audacity to stand out there and say that last week at WrestleMania, nobody was talking about Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks making history in the main event. Nobody was talking about Rhea Ripley beating Asuka at WrestleMania, winning her first Raw Women's Championship. No. No, everybody in her delusion was talking about Charlotte Flair. That's how delusional this woman is, or they make her to be. That nobody was like, gee, where's Charlotte? Charlotte should have been at WrestleMania. I miss Charlotte. Charlotte's been gone for over 2 months, man. It's really weird to not see her on WWE television. No, nobody was saying that. Had Charlotte not returned last week, nobody would have cared. The woman's a 12-time undeserving women's champion. She's won the women's tag team title. She's won the NXT Women's Championship twice. She's won it all. She's done everything. Won the Royal Rumble. Went to WrestleMania. Won the NXT Championship last year. In front of nobody, but hey, that's not anyone's fault. And she doesn't need to do anything else. If Charlotte Flair walked out on Monday Night Raw next week and was like, I'm retiring because I don't have anything left to prove, the world would not give a fuck. Charlotte Flair has been on the main roster for 6 years. 6 years coming up. And in that time, she's won an average of 2 championships a year. I know it's been more than that, and it's actually funny because she hasn't held a singles championship since October of 2019, which is really odd. But yeah, she comes back. She's all full of herself as usual. And it's just, I don't care about Charlotte. I know no one really cares about Charlotte Flair. She was gone because, and yeah, her match got ripped away from her not once but twice because we all know. And the plan obviously was going to be Lacey Evans was supposed to get a match against Asuka at the Elimination Chamber for the Raw Women's Championship. And the way things were going, it looked like Lacey Evans was supposed to beat Asuka for the Women's Championship with the help of Ric Flair. Taking the title to WrestleMania to challenge Charlotte Flair and have Charlotte Flair beat her for her 13th championship and another WrestleMania moment that Charlotte Flair does not need. Thankfully, that didn't happen. Of course, Lacey Evans went on to get pregnant. Charlotte Flair was actually taken off of television because the WWE doctors ran a test on her. She came back with whatever that... They thought she was pregnant. They thought Charlotte Flair was pregnant, so they medically suspended her until all that get cleared up. She missed WrestleMania, which again, WrestleMania didn't miss her. WrestleMania did not miss Charlotte. Honestly, if Charlotte would have been there to win her 13th championship, do you really think it would have been a better show? No. The 2 singles women's championship matches we had this year at WrestleMania were done really well and did not need to have Charlotte in them. So, yeah, that's how we go with that. But, of course, she's going to whine, complain, and sit there and say that she's the best thing. Pretty much Charlotte comes out saying that she is the best thing since sliced bread and that everyone needs to bow down to her because she is to herself. She's the main event. She's the one that everybody talks about. And I'm like, good grief, shut the fuck up, Charlotte. That's enough. Just enough already. Move on. You're not in the women's championship hunt. You shouldn't be anywhere near the championship hunt. Just deal with your losses. Go retire because nobody gives a shit about you anymore. You know, there was a time back in NXT, in her first run, Charlotte Flair actually had the potential to be she was a great heel down there, and everything they did in NXT for Charlotte Flair felt right. She felt like she was where she needed to be. And then they brought her up and ruined her just like everybody else. Well, anyway, Charlotte Flair is ranting and raving, ranting about everything, and out comes Asuka. Out comes Rhea Ripley. Charlotte's like, wait, are you two gonna gang up on me? That's mean. That's not really nice. Ugh. Good grief. Flair asks if they're going to gang up on her. She wants Ripley to have a seat ringside to take notes on how great Charlotte is tonight. Ripley says she's actually going to take Flair up on that offer, but knowing Asuka, she pretty much knows Flair is going to get beat. Asuka talks down to Asuka and they have some words. Flair won't let her speak. Asuka yells her to shut up and says tonight she will beat Flair's ass, bitch. And just the look on Asuka's face, on Charlotte's face, like, oh shit, what the fuck was that? Like, she literally, like, the shock look on Asuka's face, on Charlotte's face, like, yeah, you had that coming. Charlotte, Oscar leaves, and that was that, as she smiles and everything else. Orton is backstage walking when Matt Riddle flies past him with the scooter. Orton is seething. Still to come, we have that match, and it's coming up soon. We get a graphic touting the 1 billion video views across social and digital platform during WrestleMania 37 week. Not something really to be proud of, actually. Announces what happened with T-Bar and Mason Drew McIntyre, and Graves confirms a 2-on-1 handicap match for later in the show. And then we go to Matt Riddle versus Randy Orton. Now, as we know with Randy Orton, there are two sides to Randy Orton. The guy who comes in and puts in half-ass effort. And you know when Randy Orton doesn't want to work with somebody is he goes out there and he just half-asses everything. You can just see it in his body language and the way he does things. And then there's the Randy Orton who is wanting to work with somebody because you get a match like you did tonight. Randy Orton, it feels like this was something that maybe Randy Orton wanted to do. Maybe he wanted to work with Matt Riddle. Because these two went out there, they worked so well together, feeding off of each other so well. And this was by far the best thing on the night. There was nothing else that you can say that would seem otherwise. This was by far just great. Real hard-hitting match. Matt Riddle, Randy Orton works on the leg after we come back from break. So, he's trying to take out a mini arsenal from Matt Riddle there. It did look like at some point Randy Orton hurt his right arm because he lays out Riddle with I think a sidewalk slam, and he's just favoring the arm the whole time from there on out. I don't know exactly what happened. It might have happened during the commercial break, but you can just see him just doing everything with his left arm for the majority of the match. So, the match started off real interesting because Riddle he tried 3 times to get the sleeper on Randy Orton over and over and over again. And then Randy Orton does the smart thing. The only thing you should do is get your energy up, do a little bit of a running start, and just fall back, flattening your opponent on their back. It's we don't see that enough. Of course, if we saw it all the time, it would actually take away from the spot. But yeah, Randy Orton did what everyone should usually do when it comes to a sleeper. And that, of course, took Riddle down for a bit. So let's see here. So yeah, he did flatten him, but Matt Riddle, he didn't get off of Riddle immediately, and Riddle actually pulls him into a care through the clutch looking type move. And Randy Orton has to roll to the outside. Orton actually did his usual, dropping backbreaker onto the announce table, but he just slid right off. So this was a hell of a match here. It's really hard to just sit there and point out what's the best part of this, but Orton charges Riddle but grabs him and applies a triangle using the ropes. Was really good. He breaks it at 5. Orton kicks Riddle and hits the second rope draping DDT. Back and forth. Riddle ends up blocking the RKO and pinning him to a crucifix for the 1, 2, 3. Randy Orton just took the L to Matt Riddle in a shocking fashion, which was fucking good. The match overall was great. I'm like, sheesh. We had ourselves a barn burner of a match on Monday Night Raw between Matt Riddle and Randy Orton. And if I'm correct, for the first time ever, one-on-one. We need more matches like this. Now, I'm not saying that I want to see Matt Riddle versus Randy Orton next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that. But give me a Ricochet versus a Matt Riddle. Randy Orton versus whoever he hasn't faced before. Give me matches with guys that we don't see that often. This is one thing that hampers WWE. Is you have all this talent on your roster, and they refuse to use it. I don't know why they continue to refuse to use these talents that we know they have, when they could be giving us great matches like this every single fucking week, more than once, but they just refuse. And I don't know why. Again, this was a really, really good fucking match. I wish we saw more of this than we do on a weekly basis. But yeah, Matt Riddle, Randy Orton, if you haven't seen it, make sure to check it out, because this was definitely Randy Orton giving a shit. Because we know a lot of the times Randy Orton goes out there and just phones it in, and he sure as hell did not phone it in against Matt Riddle. And Matt Riddle got the win in an out of nowhere crucifix pin. As Pierce is backstage with United States Champion Sheamus, Pierce gives him props for winning the United States title at WrestleMania 37 over Matt Riddle. Pierce says, everyone has no doubt that Sheamus will be a great champion, but he wants Sheamus to think about some of the great champions to hold the title. He mentions how some people go out there and give us open challenges. One man used to do it on a weekly basis, and his name was John Cena. Sheamus says he's not Cena and doesn't care about the past, but he will hold an open challenge without the title being on the line. Pierce says thanks and wishes him good luck as he walks off. So I don't know where they're going with that, but yeah, that's what they're doing. And then we go from a barn burner to just a shit bag for oh my god. Now, there's something that just showed up on breaking news from WWE, but I'll talk about that when we get to the segment that ended the show because it has to tie into that. So, we have Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax versus Naomi and Lana. This match was terrible, but it looks like Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke have a new gimmick. And that gimmick is, we're going to embarrass Nia Jax as often as we can. We're going to be bullies to this woman. We're going to make fun of her on a weekly basis. But when she starts chasing us, we're going to back away like the little bitches that we are. They're supposed to be baby faces, by the way. Nia Jax is supposed to be a big, huge, big, scary heel. And now you have Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose who come out during this match. And they show clips from what happened last week from Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax making fun of Mandy Rose from slipping at WrestleMania, to Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke making a fool out of Nia Jax, to Nia Jax slipping on the apron and falling face first to the floor. So, of course, who's the biggest victim in all of this? Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler's peak, and this is what's sad, Shayna Baszler's peak was the night that Becky Lynch announced she was pregnant. Because, if you remember, Shayna Baszler had this awesome promo ripping the fact that Becky Lynch, while she was on top, while she was Raw Women's Champion, went out and got pregnant. In the line that kid's gonna suck. Did you see who the father is? That's the biggest thing that she's going to be known for. Because she should be the one fighting and being in this scrap between Asuka and Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship, not Charlotte. Charlotte needs to be gone. And we'll talk about that way in a bit. Because, well, things have turned after the way Monday Night Raw ended. But seriously, you're going to have Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose, who are supposed to be baby faces, acting like sniveling little heels, bullying the big woman, the big girl. The one who looks like her theme music is, I'm not like most girls. You're going to have them come out there, make fun of this woman, and then when she tries to confront them, they back away like scared little bitches. And of course, Shayna Baszler has to be beaten in the 2-on-1 advantage. And Shayna is the biggest victim in all of this. Just get the titles off of these two. Get the titles off of these two and let Shayna Baszler free of this and get her in the Raw Women's Championship picture. Nia Jax can go off and do whatever the fuck she wants, and they can do whatever that. The announcer shows how Bad Bunny and Damian Priest defeated Miz and John Morrison. I really don't care. They see Priest and Bunny in lengthy post-match comments in Spanish. The announcers note that Bunny's 2022 tour is already sold out. Yeah, I saw that trending the other day when they went, those tickets went live, that Ticketmaster was having a big problem with trying to get tickets sold to everybody. I'm sure most of them went to scalpers, just like everything else. Special edition of Miz TV to celebrate the successful season premiere of Miz and Mrs. I could give no shits. And Maurice apparently was not a one-off appearance last week, so yeah, there's that as well. So we have Miz TV, no John Morrison, maybe he's injured, I guess. I don't know, I didn't hear anything about him getting injured or anything. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Apparently there's going to be a 24/7 documentary on Miz's career, really don't care. Out came Damian Priest. Thank you for getting this guy, ending this bullshit. He says some shit He makes fun of them. Maurice is like, who do you think you are? If you want a match against The Miz, then you got it. Priest is like, you know what? That's what I wanted. Grabs a glass of champagne, takes a drink, and says, oh, that's some trash. Maurice tosses a glass of champagne in Priest's face, and that is that. Who cares? Miz TV is a joke. Maurice isn't helping anything. The damage to Miz's career has been done. He's never going to be geez, you got to think. Before WrestleMania, what was it, 35, 2 years ago? The Miz, before his teaming with Shane McMahon before WrestleMania 35, if I'm correct, Miz was actually a very hot star in WWE. He was becoming one of the hottest babyfaces that could have turned heel right there and been a big heel. But then they had him lose to Shane over and over and over again and have Shane McMahon make him look like the biggest fucking idiot in WWE. And here he is now, and nobody gives a shit. He's a clown. So what do they need to do? They need to bring his wife back. He got embarrassed. He got beat by Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny made him look like a clown even more. And here he is with his wife again, which his wife should probably bring back some of that good heelness for him, but nah, it's too late. Miz is just trash and will always be trash. Then we see the New Day walking backstage when Riddle rides up next to this with the scooter. He gives them props for the win over Randy Orton. They do some comedy. Xavier Woods got this big, huge case, which I don't even care. And he says it's a gift for Elias. And coming up next is Kofi versus Elias. Elias comes out. He's out there with Jackson Ryker. Which, I know. Last week when they were firing people, everybody was wondering why Samoa Joe got fired. Why Samoa Joe got fired, but not Jackson Ryker. Why did the Iconics get fired, but not Jackson Ryker? Everybody wanted. There's a lot of people who wanted Jackson Ryker, Velveteen Dream, who should be fired by the way by now. Which I honestly think he was let go. They just didn't announce it, but. If you're in NXT, there's a lot of times where they won't announce you being fired, so maybe Velveteen Dream isn't part of WWE anymore. Who knows? And a lot of people want Jackson Michael, Velveteen Dream, and Matt Riddle fired because of things from, Velveteen Dream and Matt Riddle for the Speaking Out movement, and because of Jackson Maker's pro-Trump tweet from last year and things he said. He's a conservative, obviously. He's a pro-Trump guy. Can't fire somebody because of their political beliefs. You can't. That would be a lawsuit in WWE. I think the biggest reason why WWE hasn't or won't fire Jackson Maker is because of that. Because if they fire him, and it's not for any good reason other than what he believes politically, because, Vince McMahon's a Trump supporter. Everyone knows Vince McMahon's a Trump supporter. Do you think it would look good on Vince McMahon to fire somebody else who's a Trump supporter? No, it would not. But until they find a good reason to fire him, which they could fire him, and for any reason say, budget cuts, but then Jackson Baker could come back and be like, this is just them putting, other talent put pressure on Vince McMahon to fire me, and that could be a lawsuit. There could be validity about it, and they're just keeping that right now to where they can't fire him until they have a good enough reason other than budget cuts, because anybody can sit there and say, that's just an excuse. That's basically why he hasn't been fired and probably won't be fired until all that blows over. So anyway, we have them doing their shtick out here. Elias is trying to get warmed up and get ready to play when New Day and Xavier Woods come on stage. Woods is playing his own guitar. He's trying to do the New Day theme with an electric guitar. Elias isn't happy. The New Day come to the ring as we're going to have Kofi versus Elias. Now, early on in this match, this was a pretty decent match. Elias is distracted by Xavier Woods, who has his guitar, and he's playing the best version of his best rendition of Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme. It was really hard to hear, but Corey Graves pointed out that it sounds a little bit like Stone Cold's theme. So we get a Luthez Prez. You have Kofi stomping a mud hole. You have the old Hell Yeah by Xavier Woods on the outside. The only thing they were missing was a stunner, but that's Kevin Owens' thing. We're not going to go into that. Kofi mounts some offense, but Elias levels him and turns his back. They turn it back around. Kofi climbs up to get sent back to the mat. He runs back for a hurricanrana, but Elias blocks it and hits Kofi to the mat again. Goes up top, hits the big flying elbow drop, and Elias actually pins Kofi Kingston clean. Yeah, Kofi Kingston got beat by Elias clean. Jackson Ryker did not really get involved in the match. How about that? Now, on commentary, they did mention that this was a big win for Elias. And honestly, I guess it's the biggest win Elias has had in probably over a year. But it's not as big of a win as you think it is, because unless WWE is actually going to do something with Elias and we're not just going to get a rematch next week, or we're going to get a Elias versus Xavier Woods match next week and Xavier Woods pins him, there's literally nothing good about this. It really doesn't fucking matter, because that's just how WWE goes with things. So yeah, there's that. Let's see here. Backstage, we see Alexa Bliss on her playground with her new friend Lily. Back from the break. And it's time for Alexa's playground, with Bliss is sitting on her swing, and her new friend Lily is sitting on her swing next to her. She says Lily didn't just come into her life around WrestleMania. They've been friends for a very long time. Then we see some of Bliss's childhood photos with Lily obviously added in. You know, you can tell an edited photo when you see one, because clearly the lighting of Lily and everything else does not match up with the rest of these pictures. So obviously she was added in post. But she makes it sound like Lily's been part of her life since she was a child. Now, she tells us a little story of how when she was a kid, a girl wouldn't give her a bite of her ice cream. She says she pushed that little bitch off the swing. She fell and broke her arm. And Bliss got to eat all of her ice cream, which makes me wonder, don't really care. Bliss says when the teachers asked her why she pushed the mean little girl, she told the truth. Lily made me do it. And she just has that stare of death. Like, if looks could kill, then that stare would, like, everybody on TV watching at that time would be dead. Teachers thought she was bonkers, but if Lily doesn't like somebody, she has no problem letting you know. Lily is apparently speaking to Bliss as she tells her that she will get to the point. She tells all the little girls of the Raw locker room, yes, because everyone in the Raw locker room is a little girl, that Lily didn't like him, aka the Fiend, and she doesn't like any one of you. She looks over at Lily and she close up at the creepy doll. She laughs, and then we get the same biting sequence at the camera, and that was that. So, like, obviously Lily is going to be Bliss's version of the Fiend. I don't know what they're going to do different for Bliss when she wrestles a match as Lily. I really just don't care. They've taken whatever good they had of this feud, this entire story, and they practically killed it. Like I said, there was many months and many weeks I was saying that Alexa Bliss was the best thing on Raw with the Fiend by far. And then they took the Fiend and put him in a feud with Randy Orton, and then they just killed everything they had. And I just don't care anymore. I just don't care. This is so fucking dumb. I wish they would just get rid of the Fiend. I wish they would get rid of the Alexa Bliss thing, bring her back to being what she was before, and that is that. We see what happened earlier tonight with Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke and all them. Shayla Schreiber stops Rose and Brooke backstage, asking for appropriate behavior we've seen earlier. Rose says they are not the bullies. Jackson Baszler are the bullies. She admits she slipped at WrestleMania, but Jackson Baszler just kept watching over and over. Jax says, hey! And they just walk away looking like scared little bitches. If you're not the bullies, why are you running? A bully runs. Somebody who's not a bully would stand there and try and talk things out. But no, you're the bullies. Shayna Baszler and them, yeah, they were laughing, but they weren't there making fun of you and then just, embarrassing you over and over. Obviously, if they're laughing about it, but you're sitting there laughing at yourself, you're not embarrassed, so they can't embarrass you about it. But You guys are sitting there last week laughing at the fact that Nia Jax slipped on her ass, and you guys ran away in a countouts. You show it again this week that you lost by countout because you were too busy being scared about Nia Jax. As if that's something to be proud of. I don't know what the fuck they're trying to do with these two, but they are absolutely the bullies. Of course, this isn't the first time they did a bully angle against Nia Jax. And it probably won't be the last one because that's just how they do this shit. Holy fuck, did they screw this up. Baszler says Baszler comes in and says she's not happy with Jax being distracted. I lost the match because of you, and says Jax better start paying attention or else. She storms off, and Jax is like, or else what? Angel Garza appears and asks what she sees in Reginald the sommelier. And he walks off as Jax starts to think about it. By the way, where's Reggie been? COVID? Don't know. But, yeah. It looks like this thing between Jax and Baszler will be coming to an end soon. I really hope it's soon. They have victimized Shayna Baszler so badly since, I don't know, the beginning of March. And it's so bad. T-Bar and Mace versus Drew McIntyre, 2-on-1 handicap match. This is a 2-on-1 handicap match where men may have to tag in and out. But basically, Drew McIntyre and them have a fight. Drew McIntyre dominates a good bit of this, but eventually numbers do catch up. Drew waits in the corner and Mace charges on the apron, but Drew ducks and knocks Mace to the floor. Drew goes back to T-Bar, but T-Bar rams into the turnbuckle. Mace joins in and they double team him, beating him down. The referee calls the match and Drew McIntyre wins by DQ. After the bell and music interrupted, out comes Braun Strowman to make the save. Mace and T-Bar retreat to the floor. Strowman hits the ring and says, "We ain't going down like that." We go to break. Now, this becomes back and we get a tag team match. And I'm thinking to myself here, when Drew McIntyre is talking to Pierce, and Pierce says you need a tag team partner, that would have been the time to have, conveniently, Braun Strowman just out of camera view, showing up, just so happily hearing the anger in Drew McIntyre's voice, reminiscing about the fact that these two used to were part of a 3-man team with Dolph Ziggler, when Braun Strowman had to turn heel to feud with the Shield in these two, and he called them his Dogs of War. So they could have brought that up, and by the way, they didn't in the entire match that we had. Not a one peep about the fact that these two used to run together on Monday Night Raw for about a month. So, yeah, could have did that. Could have just set that up, and instead of giving us this boring ass, this stupid fucking made no sense 2-on-1 handicap match, if you were just going to have Braun Strowman come out there and do that, then why not just have it happen like that? Why not just have these two, why not just have Braun Strowman volunteer to be his tag team partner, bring up the fact that they were a tag team, they were in a 3-man group for a bit, feuding with the Shield, and how they were tearing it up all those years ago, and give it a reason why Braun Strowman's would be out there to help him, instead of just randomly having Braun Strowman, who, by the way, was supposed to face Randy Orton in a one-on-one match tonight, which I think whoever came up with the decision for Matt Riddle versus Randy Orton made the right choice, and have this be just a tag team match from the start. It just feels like having the 2-on-1 handicap match and just have random Braun Strowman show up was really a waste of fucking time. But we have Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre versus Mason T-Bar, and this had to give Vince McMahon a big old stiffy backstage. He had to have the biggest hard-on for his big man, because you know Vince McMahon loves the big men. You have Mace, T-Bar, Braun Strowman, and Drew McIntyre, all big fucking dudes, going out there, throwing hands, having this fucking match. Now, the match itself was nothing special to speak of, but it was the ending. So, Drew McIntyre rips off Mace's mask. So, we finally see Dio Madden, aka Mace's face, for the first time on Monday Night Raw in months. In years, really. And Mace smacks him in the face. Drew smacks him in the face with the mask. Beats him in the corner with the mask. Drew has snapped, and the referee calls for the bell. After the bell, T-Bar comes from behind, but Drew drops him. Braun runs in and fights T-Bar away from Drew. He rips off T-Bar's mask, knocks him on the floor, out of the ring with T-Bar and Mace raising their arms in victory on the ramp as they announce the winners. They stand tall with no mask on, and Drew and Braun taunt them from the ring. Well, it looks like Mace and T-Bar no longer need masks. If they want to keep the name, it's fine, whatever, I don't care. But, hey, Mason T-Bar, they want to keep the names, that's fine. But the masks, we got to stay off. They don't need the masks. They didn't need the masks. As soon as Retribution was done, I mean, hell, Mia Yim, who is Reckoning, she left and she took her mask off as she was leaving. Don't know what happens with the other guy, Shane Thorne, who was Slapjack. That name should go away because that's definitely not something that you want to have on a kid-friendly show. But hey, if they want to keep Mason T-Bar, that's fine. They're keeping the Retribution music. But hey, no more masks. No more masks for these guys. We see Miz and Maurice walking backstage, and then we're going to find out Raw Talk with Damian Priest, Lana, MVP, and Naomi. And then we go to Damian Priest versus The Miz. Now, of course, no John Morrison this week. I don't know if he's injured or whatnot, but no John Morrison this week. So, the story, of course, going into this match is that Damian Priest got screwed last week because Maurice distracted him. Miz was able to roll him up and use the ropes to be able to score the victory. He tried that again tonight. It didn't happen. Priest actually kicked out. Priest dodges a right hand and follows up with a bell clap. He then hits the lights. 1, 2, 3, and Damian Priest picks up the win after the match. He celebrates, goes to replays. Maurice checks on Miz and alongside as Priest celebrates in the ring. Here's my question. Here's my thing on this. Priest and Bad Bunny won at WrestleMania. That should have been the end of the feud. Done. Out of here. Gone. No more. They continued it on last week. Then they continued it this week. This needs to be over. Priest needs to move on. Should he be the next man to challenge for the United States Championship? No. I think he needs a little bit more time. I think he needs to have another big feud against somebody else. Win that feud, move on. Money in the Bank, he could be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. I wouldn't mind that. Would he win it? Probably not. If he does, that's fucking awesome. Probably not, though. After that, we say we go to Extreme Rules, and he challenges for the United States Championship there and beats Sheamus for the United States Championship. Or, take it to SummerSlam and then win the United States Championship. Either way, all I know is he needs to be taken away from this feud with The Miz because there's nothing left to do. Him and Bad Bunny won the big match at WrestleMania. There's nothing left for this guy to do against The Miz. It's not helping Priest anymore. It really didn't help Priest that much anyway, except get him on WrestleMania. There's nothing left to do for him. Get him off of this. So we see Sheamus is introduced to the ring, mentions his WrestleMania 31 over Riddle, and says the world needs to know something, that he's going to be our United States champion for a long, long time. He says he didn't win the title by being a nice fellow and making reckless decisions. He did it the opposite way. Tells everyone he'll be a fighting champion, which means he's going to issue an open challenge for the title each and every week, or whenever he wants. Calls everyone on the mat, comes everyone out, and out comes the resident loser, Humberto Carrillo. Yes, the resident loser, Humberto Carrillo. The man who's been jobbed out more times than probably anybody else on this goddamn show. A guy with all the fucking potential and on the... yeah. So yeah, Humberto Carrillo comes out here, he poses, Sheamus attacks him from behind, beats the fuck out of him, hits him with a bro kick. What else? Grabs Humberto's face and yelling at being a different league. Taunting him for the title, the fake boos get louder as Sheamus puts his hat back on and poses with the title. We get the replays and music hits, and Sheamus heads to the ramp and looks down at the ring while the fake fans continue to boo. Then we see Charlotte warming up in the main event in the back. Go back to commercial break. We come back and it's time for the main event, and Charlotte is out first. I will say this. I do like the new robe that Charlotte was wearing. It had a more sinister Cruella de Vil type look to it. I actually think it didn't have the same fluff and flair of a Ric Flair robe, which is nice. It looked it looked like it fit her more. And it wasn't like she's ripping off her dad's robes. It looked like actually, like I said, it looked evil. Like she was Cruella de Vil in WWE, which she really is. She's an evil bitch. But I did like the new robe, I will say that, so that's a positive right there. Out comes Asuka, then out comes Rhea Ripley, who walks towards the announce table, but she grabs a chair and goes back to the stage and watches from there. So you have this fight. We've seen this fight over and over between these two, which is the problem with WWE. This is your main roster women's division. This is your Raw women's division right here. Everyone else is tied up in bullshit tag teams for the shitty tag team titles. This is it right here. Charlotte, Asuka, Rhea Ripley. That's your Raw women's women's championship division. That's a bad thing. When Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax eventually lose this title, we could add a fourth or a third because of what happens here at the end. But yeah. This is the whole women's division for Monday Night Raw. The three legit people who are going to be fighting over this Raw Women's Championship for the rest of this year are these three right here. So they're having the match here. If you've seen Charlotte versus Asuka before, you ain't missing anything. But Flair goes for the figure eight. Rhea Ripley, the referee's back is turned. Rhea Ripley goes and drops the title, goes and pulls Charlotte's hands out, so she drops down. Flair is not happy. She goes and grabs Rhea. The ref didn't see anything, so all the ref knows is that maybe Rhea Ripley said something to Charlotte Flair to piss Flair off, so she's going to go around and grab her. Charlotte, in front of the ref, Rhea hasn't done anything, so the bell's not going to ring. So Asuka comes around, kicks her, and takes advantage, drops her, then for the backside for a 1, 2, 3, and Asuka beats Charlotte. Is that the first time Asuka's beaten Charlotte in a singles match? I do believe so. I could be totally wrong, but yeah, Asuka beat Charlotte one-on-one for probably one of the very few times that she has. Charlotte usually beats Asuka. Asuka stands tall. Ripley taunts Flair from the floor as Flair goes to argue with the referee. She backs the ref into a corner, grabs him by the collar, and flips him. And just tosses him across the ring. Stomps away at the ref on the other side, keeping him down. She mounts him from behind and starts beating him with fucking elbows over and over and over again. Other officials finally come in, but Flair gets up for a second, then she goes back down attacking the same referee, continues beating on him for another, and yells at her as others yell at her, which, I'm sorry, I don't give a shit about whatever. You're two fucking guys. I'm pretty sure if one of you grabs one arm and one of you grabs the other, you can pull her off and hold her back so she can't do anything. The fact that these two referees, which I can understand if you have only two referees on when a guy's beating down another guy, you're probably going to get your ass kicked, but it's fucking Charlotte Flair. You're two guys. Can you not both grab an arm and pull her away? Then she continues to beat him down. She goes away, finally gets on the apron, comes back in, punt kicks the referee in the gut while he's down. She stands in the middle of the ring, looks around, and the crowd begins to make her exit as the Raw goes off the air. So, what is WWE going to do about this? Well, about 41 minutes ago, WWE per Scrap Daddy AP Adam Pearce on Raw Talk, Miss Charlotte has been suspended indefinitely and fined $100,000. Following her actions at the conclusion of Raw. So, I don't know what's going on with Charlotte Flair. I'm pretty sure she has some kind of movie that she's going to be in that she needed time off. So, yeah, Charlotte Flair is gone again. Which makes me wonder if that was going to happen. What was the fucking point of bringing her back? Charlotte Flair had not been seen on television for months. Medical suspension, COVID, whatever. So, yeah. She's been suspended. If she's going to be gone for a while, which I don't know if that's... Of course it's storyline. Something that's not going to happen on WWE television if it's not storyline. But, yeah. if she's actually going to be gone and say, we don't see Charlotte Flair till around SummerSlam, I'm thinking to myself is, what was the fucking point of bringing her back for 2 weeks? You could have just left her off TV going into SummerSlam, and you know what? We wouldn't have missed her one fucking bit. She's gone again for maybe a week, maybe 2, maybe 3. I don't know. All I know is not going to miss her one bit. So we can continue this the Rhea Ripley and Asuka feud. Maybe by the time that feud's over with, Shayna Baszler is no longer a tag team champion, and she can go after the Raw Women's Championship. Maybe we can get a relive of what is it called? A revival of Shayna Baszler and Rhea Ripley from NXT. Bring up the history of the fact that Rhea Ripley took the title from Shayna Baszler. Maybe. So, yeah. Charlotte's gone for however long. And if we see her next week attacking the women from behind or whatever, it'll be stupid. But, yeah. That was Monday Night Raw. Was it a really good show? No. Randy Orton versus Matt Riddle is the fucking standard. I need to see matches like that. I don't need to see the match again next week just because WWE fucking feels like it. But we need more matches like that. Charlotte Flair versus Asuka could have been a better match, but they only gave them about 15 minutes and it was just bleh. We've seen them before. The Charlotte Flair thing, just to get her off TV, just makes me wonder, what in the hell were they doing? What the hell were they doing? Why did they bring her back for 2 weeks just to suspend her anyway? But that is Raw for you. Another piss poor show outside of Matt Riddle and Randy Orton. Those two, hell of a match. And to think, if Matt Riddle would have kept the United States Championship coming out of WrestleMania, we could have had Randy Orton versus Matt Riddle at WrestleMania Backlash for the United States Championship, and they could have gave us what we got tonight on pay-per-view. We might even go down that route still. Who fucking knows? But until then, my name is Franz. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Minds at the Franz Club. Find me on twitch.tv/thefranzclub, and find me on Instagram at the Franz Club, and I will see you guys on Wednesday when we have good fucking wrestling. Till then, my name is Franz, and I'll see you guys later.